Yo, why do my beats sound so weak? Hey, what is going on here for real? If you've ever thought that in your head, I can guarantee you I have the solution that all professionals use. And by the end of this video, you'll have the hardest beats out of all your homies. I promise, gang. So grab my free kits, join my Discord, check out my EPK if you're new, and let's get started. First, you need to understand something. Brick wall limiting and soft clipping are the sound of modern music. And no, I'm not finna nerd out wasting time trying to explain why this is, because one, it's the truth, and more importantly, two, that's not the point of this video, because I'm trying to help the homies trap and make their stuff sound better right now. So El Bozo ratio to that one goof that wants to quality check my advice. But if you're chill and just want to learn, here's a blog post I wrote about the nerd aspects of soft clipping. Right now, I just want to show you the easiest way to make your beats hit harder, and that doesn't require really knowing anything other than how to open up the Fruity Soft Clipper on your master. But for the love of God, do not touch this knob. Look, let me try to break this down. The whole point of soft clipping is to simulate an analog threshold for your signal to clip past. We're in the digital setting in our DAW, so we usually clip digitally, which is far less sonically pleasing than analog clipping. The threshold is set and shaped by this knob here. TR5 has a similar knob here. This output gain knob pushes your clipped signal up into what, you asked? Up into the digital ceiling, the very situation you're trying to avoid.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Never touch the output gain knob. The manuals of some clippers literally suggest not touching the output knob. What you want to do is push the gain into the clipping effect, because you'll be clipping more and more of the waveform of the signal coming into the plugin, which is where the sound of the warmth and saturation actually comes from. But we've got a problem. Fruity Soft Clipper doesn't have an input knob, but we can fix this by using another plugin to push our master signal into the clipper. I like to use this preset from my band for band mixer preset kit. It has a VCA gain tool chained to the Fruity Soft Clipper, and it allows me to push the gain of my entire signal into the threshold. I like setting it at +6 decibels, and that's basically just emulating this preset from TR5, which many of you know had me in an absolute chokehold before I started using Fruity Soft Clipper more. And the reason for switching primary clippers is that different clippers sound different. They, for the most part, do pretty much do the same thing, but it's really that difference in sound, and we'll talk about that another day, simply because it necessarily takes us outside the scope of what we're talking about right now. But let me know down in the comment section below if you guys want more videos on clipping. For now, let's go over a demonstration of the workflow so you can see and hear how easy it is to make your beats hit harder with this simple method. To start this workflow, you want to engage whatever you're going to be using for clipping. So if you were using a brick wall limiter, you would start with your brick wall limiter. We're going to be mixing into a clipper, so I'm going to drag the clipper chain on here and immediately set it to that +6 gain, and then I'll make the threshold a little bit softer today, just because I want to mix into something with a little bit of a softer threshold, and then again, we don't touch that post gain. Now, why do we start with this on the master? Well, it's because it makes a lot of intuitive sense to mix into whatever your master effects are going to be, but don't take my word for it. Here's Jason Joshua basically explaining the same thing, and if you don't know who Jason Joshua is, he's a pretty big deal. All producers and engineers that want to make progress should definitely study this guy.
A lot of people have a misconception to put the limiter on after the mix, but that's never been the case for people like myself and some of my friends who are pretty much upper echelon mixers. We all start with whatever we have on the stereo bus in gate. Like, why would you put on the limiter after, when the limiter's, you know, your biggest problem on taking your transients away and making your record sound smaller? If you have your limiter doing most of your heavy lifting, meaning taking care of your transients, you're gonna have a very, very small distorted mix.
I found a pretty crazy loop in Discord. Shout out Rob O. Join my Discord. So here's what we've got going so far. Again, you heard it with the soft clipping on, and now we're just gonna turn it off. Just to kind of bolster Jason Joshua's explanation for why it's a good idea to mix with those effects on your master right away. You'll just literally be able to hear what's going on, and it makes sense, so you don't have to do it all twice. So getting right into it, you already know big three. We start with that kick. Right there, just clipping past 0 because I know it's going to get clipped on the master. Then we bring in the bass. I'll hit that with a preset from band for band right there. So those are nice and loud. So now we're just going to bring in the main snare. Then we can bring in the accent snare too. just a little bit less loud than that main snare. So that takes care of the first two elements of our big three. Then we bring in that melody. First, let's add some effects to it so that we kind of hear what it's going to sound like in context, and then we'll mix it in with the rest of the big three. So we'll use this for some basic EQ. We'll come over here and delete this so we can use an analog shelf here. Just roll off some of those lows. We'll keep that low pass there on the high end just to kind of hard cut those noisy artifacts past, like, let's say 16K-ish. We'll use this analog high shelf to roll off some of that high end right there. Then we'll bring in another preset for coloration, which just has like reverb and saturation on there. Sounding nice. Maybe turn down that reverb just a little bit. Turn down the decay. Turn down the reverb here just a little bit. Cool. And then let's mix this in. And with that clipping, it's just so hard and clean, bro. Loud and present. And now we can just mix in everything else. I'm actually gonna get started with some of these accenting perks because they kind of like have interplay and syncopation with the drums. Bring in this other one. Pan those away from each other. Then we bring in our hats. That's the mixing speed run, baby. Knocking. The thing that many producers don't know is that arrangement is actually one of the most important mixing concepts. So if you're not already locked in with your beat structuring, click on this video on the screen now and I'll get you right, homie.